Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. It's the hard-hitting bang gang back together. Where was that going to go? Very, very dodgy start there. We're even before the watershed. If it's the first time, you can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. Take two. We are with the hard-hitting Friday gang here that are seeing you into Liverpool to come, where, quite frankly, everyone is on the brink. Joining us on the edition of Last Word on Spurs, I'm joined by the boys from the Five. I'm joined by Lubo and Johnny, of course, repping Football Inc. as well. And I'm joined by Dave over at the Irish Hotspur. If you can for us out there, guys, like, hype, subscribe to the show before we bring in our wonderful gents that are going to see you through, guide you through what is to come in the world of Tottenham. Let's give you an update of where we are going into Liverpool on Sunday. And quite frankly, where we are at the state of play right now. Igor Tudor, we understand, is going to be, of course, seeing us into Sunday, despite an extraordinary press conference that he held on Friday. We'll be giving you the fallout and more during this show of that. But it is understood he's battling to see March out, despite being given the Liverpool game. Vinay Venkatesham, Johan Lang, Nick Boycher, key to the final decision of his future, although we do understand that other caretakers are being looked at already, with several Spurs players wanting a change, and Igor Tudor understood to have already alienated several players after his starting tenure at the club with 4 defeats from 4 games. He is at present Spurs' worst ever manager on the back of, like I say, that horrendous run of form. It's understood the treatment of goalkeeper Anton Kaczynski hasn't gone down well at all in the dressing room. And Spurs, pretty much behind his back, pretty much sounding out a lot of different options. They include, I think, as many are aware, the likes of Robbie Keane, who we understand in regards to Robbie Keane's perspective, if he was to come, he would like the job on a full-time basis, not a short-term basis. Also, that have been mentioned the frame at this stage. Ryan Mason, obviously former Spurs player, former Spurs interim boss, part of the squad that obviously celebrated that Europa League trophy not too long ago. So keep an eye on him in relation to his future. One name that was linked with the job in this last 24 hours or so was that of Sean Dyche. It's understood now that Sean Dyche does not want to take the Tottenham job as a short-term fix as the club faces a historic slide towards the Championship. Dyche, it's understood, would be open if the role was going to be longer than the 8-9 games or what it would be 3 months involved. He would want the job on a more permanent basis. I can't believe even I'm talking about Sean Dyche on this edition of Last Word on Spurs. Jurgen Klinsmann, he's thrown his hat into the ring. He said he would get nasty with the team and would vow to make Spurs potentially survival the key, of course, in the Premier League. But we'll, like I say, come on to that and more during this edition of Last Word on Spurs. And it's understood that many people, senior figures in the game, believe Pochettino is likely to head back to Tottenham, with some claiming despite, even if the club drop into the Championship, Pochettino remains the number one target for Tottenham going into the summer. Let's bring in this wonderful gang back alongside me. Dave, I'm going to open with you on the show. Always a pleasure to have you on, mate. Let's get your take, Dave, on what you've made the last week around Tottenham and what you make of the case that, as things stand at the moment, Igor Tudor is leading the side into Liverpool at the weekend, whereas we know going into this one, Spurs could be up to 13 players out. Polinia and Romero, the latest 2 that are going to miss this upcoming Premier League game. David, thoughts overall where we are in Tottenham world at the moment?
I mean, look, you didn't think it could get much worse after the Crystal Palace game or off the back of 3 London derbies where we've suffered back-to-back defeats. And I mean, Tuesday night was the worst I've ever seen it. 3 down in 14 minutes. It gave me flashbacks of that game. I can't remember whether it was against Liverpool or Newcastle, where we found ourselves in a similar position a few years ago. But I think it really all started with the big decision around them bringing in Kinski over Vicario on the night. And I thought it was a big decision to make, because I sort of said pre-game that if Kinski has a howler like we've seen him have before when he played last season under Ange Postecoglou, then all of a sudden you're left in a situation where you don't really have any goalkeeper that you can trust that can pull off the saves we need where we're currently at to try and help us put points on the board and stuff. And it's clear that the manager has now no faith in either goalkeeper at this moment in time, which is a huge concern of mine. But look, again, embarrassed on the European stage. What's new? We're used to being embarrassed domestically. Why not take it to the European stage? And then you have all the reports coming out about some players want to dig in and fight for it to get us out of this. Some players don't. the reality is we can sit here and talk about needing to make another change. And to be honest with you, I think when you look at Tudor's record since he's come here, he's lost his first 4 games. The worst start a manager has ever got off to at Tottenham Hotspur. I think we've conceded 14 goals in his 4 or 5 games in charge.
Yep.
You haven't really tried anything different to Thomas Frank. We're led to believe that the squad don't like his sort of tough love approach, if you would like. But the reality is we can sit here and talk about change a manager who potentially will come in. By the way, we've hindered ourselves there. It looks like we've attached ourselves to Pochettino returning in the summer, which means any candidates out there now are not going to stick their name on Tottenham on a temporary basis, especially when every manager that's been here over the last few years has warned of the massive problems with inside Tottenham Hotspur. They don't want to attach their name to it right now. But the reality is, unless we have a squad that are willing to pull together for a common cause and fight their way out of this, doesn't really matter who you bring in next, to be brutally honest with you. If you've got a fractured dressing room and there's no fight within it, it's alarming that, reports have come out that one player has apparently said that, he doesn't really care about the relegation, the battle or not, because he can get a move out of here in the summer. And to be honest with you, I'll be surprised if it's only one. I think there'll be a few thinking like that. When you look at our history the last few years, notoriously how hard it's been for our best players to get out of Tottenham Hotspur and move to clubs where they can provide them what they're looking for. Why would these players stick around? Because the board will only hold them to their contracts, the better players to their contracts, if we stay up and look to build around them. If we get relegated, the board are not going to carry their wages down to the Championship, even at a 50% reduction. So, that's where my concern comes in. There's talks about bringing in a man manager. That seems to be the general consensus. Someone that's going to come in and tell them, oh my God, what moisturizer did you use this morning? You're absolutely glowing. Your hair's perfect. Make them feel good. But the reality is, if you don't have leadership, which we don't, and you don't have people fighting for the one cause, we're screwed.
Are you of the opinion then, Dave, before I bring the other boys in, that is it now going to be down to the players more than whoever they change to in terms of interim boss? Is that your gauge now? It's the players that are going to have to fight our way out of this rather than any kind of interim boss going in and getting a lift, Dave?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at with it. I think, the club's safety is literally in the players' hands. We've had Thomas Frank, who largely protected them players in the press. Let's be brutally honest. Then you bring in you bring in Tudor. He's put them on blast. He's basically said they can't run, they can't defend, they can't attack. We haven't seen any reaction to it. We can say we can bring in a guy that's going to come in and be a man manager and motivate these players and stuff like that. But the reality is, right, if you're a player inside that camp and you're Cristian Romero, for instance, and any other player, and you've gone off to international duty, you've got a North London derby coming up and the club can't even bring over a private jet to get you back on time, just so that you have a better chance to prepare for the game and be ready, which Cristian Romero has moaned about before. And you're going away on international duty and you're seeing all these other players being picked up on private jets and making sure they're getting back on time for games. That's player care. That's player welfare. When you look at a lot of these players heading outside of the club to get rehabilitation from injuries, to get them back fit and stuff like that, and you see the statement coming out from Romero from the dressing room, basically having a pop at the owners every chance he gets. That's not just a reflection of him and himself. I can guarantee you that's a reflection of the whole dressing room. They feel like the board don't care about them, that they haven't given them enough resources to be able to fight this battle. And, they have no loyalties to this ownership, so they're not going to fight for them. They've offered fans out nearly every single week for quite some time for a fight, so they're not going to fight for us. So what is what is actually going to band these guys together to fight? They clearly don't like each other. There's a split in the dressing room, so they're not going to fight for each other. And, we can sit here and say, Tottenham getting relegated will be a stain on their CV. No, it won't. They'll just walk away from the club and put all the problems back on the club and mention every reason why they didn't succeed here, just like everyone else has done when they've walked away, just like Scott Munn has done, just like managers have done, directors of football have done. And they'll do the exact same thing. So I'm of the opinion, unless this squad can really pull itself together, have some honest conversations, confront each other, and everyone working, to try and fight and get us out of this, we are going down. It really doesn't matter who you bring in, because we've had so many different approaches over the last few years, and after every single one of them managers are gone, you hear the same crap. they're not a fan of him. He wasn't friendly enough, or he was over friendly. He concentrated too much on the opposition, yet we're being ripped apart every single week. When are you going to start taking some of this stuff on board and actually be committed to what one manager wants you to do? And unless you have that, you're going down. You look at Everton a few years ago when they're in that situation. The fans in the stadium turned up every single week, making raucous atmosphere, almost kicking every ball with them players. Them players were also fighting for the one cause. But the difference is that they were in turmoil at the time, and they were able to galvanize and put themselves together. We've got 9 games to go, and this whole club is fractured from top to bottom, and it doesn't seem like anyone actually is steering this ship, taking captaincy of this ship and showing the path forward. It just seems like the owners are leaving it to Vinay and Lang. Vinay and Lang don't know what they're doing. They're leaving it to the manager. The manager's walking in here going, well, I don't have the resources to be able to get us out of this. He's putting it on the players, and the players are shifting the board back up to the plate. Where does it stop? We are a club that is fractured, and I've seen this many a times. Stadiums half empty, going down. Fans have lost all connection to the team, to the football club. The owners don't really care about what they're doing, don't know what they're doing. And the club needs a change from top to bottom. Everyone is going to look to get out here in the summer. There's no one that actually is committing themselves to this club long term and saying, we're going to lead us out of this. Not once. There's barely been a recognition that we're even in this spot. And that's hugely concerning to me.
Dave, one intro. Thank you so much for having you back on the show. Always a pleasure, mate. It really, really is. I want to come on to Johnny. Before I do, look, I mean, everybody that's known me for the last 7.5, 8 years, I'm not one that ever comes in and says, I've got information, I've got ITK. I don't really like that term or brand or whatever. But I'll be honest with you, in these last few days or so, I've spoken to quite a lot of people in and around football. I want to make this clear, not connected to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Can I just make that very, very clear? And I know there's been at least one manager that's looked at the group that, again, someone told me it's in confidence, and I think I'm breaching that by telling you guys out there, because you're all Spurs fans that listen and watch the show. There is a genuine concern about the lack of fighters in the dressing room for anybody that's coming in and looking at this group and thinking, can I get a tune out of them? Now, many will know there's been some managers out there that have made it very much clear, or you say some managers, some individuals out there that have made it clear they would come in and rescue the situation. One of them being, of course, Harry Redknapp, who's a popular face around Tottenham fans, and the fact that, again, some of the great nights he gave us during his time at the football club. I think Spurs, again, this is just a personal opinion, and again, from speaking to people I speak to around football, Tottenham don't particularly want to go towards a Harry Redknapp type figure at the moment. I think Spurs are probably in a position where they're going to have to veer towards some kind of person that has got an association, a connection with the club. But I think at the moment, it's who that person is still very much undetermined. And I think that's why we are where we are, and why Igor Tudor is taking the team into Liverpool on Sunday, where we'll come on to what he said in that press conference, where, again, fascinating press conference, extraordinary one for any of the journalists that were covering the club and those that don't cover Spurs as close, because I think if you're not a Tottenham fan now, and you're lucky if you aren't, you are looking at Spurs' kind of fascination as to what is going on there. And again, I think people watch this show that aren't Spurs fans are tuning in thinking, this has got every sign of relegation written all over it, as Dave quite kind of rightly spelt out there in his introduction. Johnny, mate, I don't want to age you too much because you've seen a lot of years of Spurs as a fan. What's your gauge at the moment, John, in terms of that disconnect, and how concerned are you by the fact Tudor is taking this game? Because for me personally, on the back of Tuesday, I didn't want him to have any more further time with the players, any further time at the football club. But I suppose it's a damning indictment of where we are, the fact that Tudor's got to take this game because of the limited options out there, the short turnaround to Liverpool, and by the fact that the noise around him suggests that this probably may very well be his last game regardless. So what's your thoughts, John, in the mood around the club right now and this managerial debacle Spurs find themselves in?
Well, firstly, thank God I wasn't on here on Wednesday night or Thursday night, because the rage I had on the game on Tuesday. Big up to all the people, big up to everyone in the chat, but to all the guys that I met on the concourse before, during and after the game in Madrid, who voiced their concerns about where this club is right now. These owners have killed my club, my club, our club, the club we all love, the club that we've supported. Some of us for many, many years, some of us for a short space of time. It doesn't really matter. It's part of our lives. We care about it. Unfortunately, we're just numbers in the game. We hear all this talk about what they're going to do. They removed Levy, who they tried to make out was the big problem, which is what they're trying to do now with a big PR campaign. Look, we know one thing, that Daniel ingrained himself into every single aspect of the club, knowing full well one day the day would come where they would try to remove him from power. And he thought, if I control everything, if they just take me out, everything's going to come tumbling down. They can't do that. But they did. And the whole house came tumbling down. It created a vortex of which we are spiraling down into the Championship. These guys are absolutely clueless. We had Johan Lang spout this story that, when I met Igor Tudor, I knew he was the type of guy that could come in on a Monday, look at the squad and know how to fix it, how to adapt, how to change this round. I mean, is he having a laugh? Look what he's done. This guy hasn't adapted. He hasn't changed anything. This guy's playing the same three at the back as he played at Juventus. They haven't done any due diligence or research. He was a bad communicator at Juventus. He was bad in press conferences. He's been an absolute joke. I mean, we're talking about Archie Gray. He's played Archie Gray, left wing back, right wing back. He's played him at centre midfield. He played Pedro Porro at centre-back. Absolutely clueless what is going on. He's as clueless as this board. The board don't know what they are doing. They've set out to sea. We have got no football people. We have got no captain. We are drifting at sea with a massive hole in our boat, right? I don't want to keep doing these boat analogies. It seems like everyone's doing a boat analogy. We are the Titanic. We are sinking. We are the biggest club to ever go down in the Premier League. And these guys are arranging the frigging deck chairs. I'm not interested in the deck chairs, right? It's too late. This ship should have been trying to right this ship a long time ago. They've had a year. There's no point blaming Daniel Levy now. I've got no interest in that. You've had a year to get this ship back on track. And in the January transfer window, you sell Brennan Johnson, a right winger, and then you have Kudus who gets injured. You have to make plans. You have to come in and you have to, yes, you didn't plan on it, but you have to react. You have to react to the situation. And they haven't reacted to anything that's gone on in this club. And I don't think anyone can come in. How many games I've been to this season where the players are, they want to have a fight with the fans? My God, what is wrong with you guys, right? Why don't you show that fight and passion? I was in the Tunnel Club last week, and Mickey van der Ven comes out like it. Can't be asked. He's basically in the tunnel there. All the kids, all the ball boys are there, and some of the players are, patting them on the head and like having a bit of banter with it. Mickey van der Ven comes out with a whole mouthful of water, gobs it on the floor right in front of them, and marches out. And when they pan across, the camera pans across, right across the line of all the players to the captain at the end. Right, this is a huge game against Crystal Palace. He doesn't even turn around and go, "Come on, boys." Nothing. There's no fight. And then we see Porro coming off right in front of me, kicking the crap out of a chair. Why don't you show that passion and fight? It's all for the cameras. It's all for the cameras. You should be doing that on the pitch. You should be doing that on the pitch. And you know what? I get home. I get an email today, Ricky. See, they've extended the deadline to the 12th of June for season ticket holders. I'm a premium season ticket holder. They've given me till the 26th of March to pay. 26th of March. What planet are they? What planet are you on? I'm going to pay thousands of pounds for my ticket on the 26th of March. Where's my extension? Where's the understanding of all of us here in this sense? I think they are so distant from this fan base. I don't want to go over everything Dave said, because I 100% agree with everything Dave said. We could go over the same, but I don't think I don't think that there's anyone that can come into this club, unfortunately, that can save us. Because what they're going to do, Heitinger, who came in for 33 days, get all the pictures with Thomas Frank, he didn't even want to stay here. Why didn't he want to stay here? He could see what was happening. So what are you going to do? They bring in Tudor. They didn't even look into the background that he couldn't even bring in his assistant coach. So he's got no one helping him. He's blowing his whistle. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's doing everything. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring in a Ryan Mason. Who's going to be his backup? There isn't anyone. There's no Matty Wells. There's nobody at the club. There's no one there. It's a farce. It's an absolute shit show. I actually cannot believe we're in this state. It got so bad. Lubo's the same. I mean, all right, it's Mother's Day and all the rest of it, but I'm not going to Liverpool. I've drawn the line now. That's it. I'm not going to go and give my heart, my passion when these guys come onto the pitch and they are already planning their exit strategy. We know who they are, right? There's 3 players there that we know that are at the end of their contracts. Kolo Muani, gone, right? Paulinho, gone. Basuma, gone. Doesn't matter what happens. They got no vested interest in anything that's going on right now. And we've only got 12 players. And they are 3 of them.
Welcome back, mate. Welcome back. Honestly, what a passionate rant that is there from Johnny. Very hard to disagree with a word he said. Luba, let's bring you in. I don't know you follow that. Or follow those two. Let me bring you in, Lubo. Let me bring you in. Let's bring you in. What are you making of it? Just generally, I suppose, let's start on the situation around Tudor taking the game, right? We're going to hear from him very, very shortly and what he's making of his situation. But he's taking this game despite the fact that in and around him is this noise about Spurs seeking out other alternate options. You're gauging just where things are, Luba, going into this game against Liverpool, where it feels that the whole club at the moment is on fire.
Don't think he cares, to be honest.
Tudor you're referring to?
Tudor, yeah, I honestly don't think he gives a shit. Excuse my French. What does he care? You know, when he joins, I didn't know the first thing about him in terms of his managerial background, experience. I looked it up like everybody else. He's firefighting and he's done well at his last few clubs initially before tailing off. And you think to yourself, okay, if he's done that well at other clubs, then surely he's going to be scanning through all the videos before he takes training on the Monday before the Arsenal game. He's going to study, he's going to pinpoint, he's going to look at all the goals. I mean, there have been so many goals that we've conceded that have been shots from the edge of the box and just outside the box. You know, I'm not an analyst. I've just been watching it. You just see there are so many. That's just one thing. Him with analysts would surely pinpoint and look at so many different areas that Spurs have done wrong this season. And think yourself, right, how are we going to put this right? Let's look at the players. Let's sit down. Let's have a chat. Go in, take your training session, talk to every single one of those players, find out where they play, find out their best position, find out what their strengths and what their weaknesses are. You haven't got long. You've got to work quickly. For me, he's not done any of those. He's not put round pegs in round holes. His team selections have been very, madness. I mean, let's just take Tuesday. Let's work on Tuesday. The team I would have selected would have been Vicario instead of Kinski. I would have played a back 4, but if he's staying with a 3, because he doesn't seem to know anything else, all he knows is a 3, which for me, with the players that you've got, if they're all fit and you've got quality players there, and if you've got a 6 who can control the ball and control play, like Juve do with Locatelli when they play with the 3, then fine, that's okay. But we don't have that. So, but he still plays with the 3. So you stick with the 3. You don't stick Gray and Sarr into that cauldron. You play Paulinho and Gallagher. You need a creative player. You play Gray instead of Tell. And up front, for me, you play Solanke instead of Muani. So there's 5 out of 11. And for me, listen, I just follow my team. I'm not a trained coach, but those are obvious. They're just obvious selections, and he got all of them wrong. And you just, what on earth is he doing? He's a complete waste of time. I had that hope, like all fans do. Someone comes in, don't know the first thing about him. Is he going to be good? You just hope you're going to get a manager bounce, because for the Newcastle game, that first half was as bad as anything I'd seen all season. I agree with pretty much everything Johnny and Dave said, apart from a couple of bits. I think Levy was a complete megalomaniac. I don't believe that he did what he did because he knew one day he'd be thrown out. His father and Joe Lewis have been best friends all their lives. Joe Lewis is Daniel Levy's godfather. I don't believe for 1 minute Levy thought this would ever happen. That day on September the 4th would ever happen.
Even though, Lubo, full well that him and Vivian have been at war for a long time. They've never ever got on.
No, But number one, but he's been there. He's been with Joe Lewis all his life. Lewis has mentored him as a trader. Hence the way Levy has approached all the transfers. It's all on the cheap. It's buy cheap, sell high. He's tried to bring the ENIC way of transfer dealing into football, and it failed miserably. You can't buck the trends. There is, you can't piss off every other chairman who you've got to deal with. It's not like an estate agent who has someone come through the door to buy a house, and it might be the only time they ever deal with them in their career. You've got 20 chairmen, you've got to deal with twice a year, and then 17 of the same chairman a year later, and so on and so on. So the way that ENIC have behaved doesn't work. So the one thing I did agree with on Dave big time was it's down to the players now. It's purely down to the players. It really doesn't matter who comes in as a manager. I think for the owners, if Redknapp is the obvious choice for me.
But Lubo, what are you making the reports that Spurs, from what we're hearing, allegedly, I will say this, Tottenham don't really want to go near Harry? What are you making of that, Lubo?
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I can only think that he came out and he was talking about the phone call with Levy. Well, guys, if you're going to let a phone call potentially lose you 250 million, I think they start raving mad. They've completely lost their marbles if that is the case. We're not going to touch him. He's spoken to Levy. So what? It's the first time in 10 years he spoke to Daniel Levy. Big deal. Levy phoned him. Who cares? At the end of the day, they should be more worried about their assets that could lose its value by 50% if Spurs go down. Nobody buys a championship club for 3 billion, 3.5 billion. They don't buy a championship club for 2 billion. You just look at it, the whole thing. We've got a wage bill. I think last figure I heard was 260 million. The highest paying club in the championship this season is Leicester City on 42.7 million. And we're over 200 million more. And you just look at it and you think, they don't know. They're clueless. The club's rudderless. It's drifting. And none of them on the board are actually looking at this in the right way. I have never seen, listen, I've never seen a club worth this much, any business worth this much money who doesn't have anybody connected to the product that they're selling, to their core business, which is football, on the board. It's the blind leading the blind. Nick Butcher, who has got a sports management MBA degree, I think, that's not going to help him, in terms of the Premier League. And he's a property guy. I'm sure he's a very good property guy, but he's now making the decisions for a football club that's this big. He's been drafted in as an emergency. The whole thing's staggering, Ricky. I can't actually believe that this is the club that I've grown up. I followed for over 60 years. This isn't a football club anymore. This hasn't been a football club, and it's all very well, Levy's been gone 6 months, but look at the damage that he's done over those years. That's all coming. You don't just say someone leaves and all of a sudden we're in this shit because of 6 months. He ran the club. Lewis left him to run the club on a day-to-day basis. Now he's at fault, Lewis, or for me as a fan, because he let Levy carry on making all these disastrous football decisions. Probably because he saw Levy was building the value of the club and the value of his shares. So great, fantastic. You carry on doing what you're doing, Daniel. But ultimately, there comes a point where your luck runs out. And if you haven't got talent and if you haven't got know-how, then that business, whatever business you're in, is going to come down and crash. And this is what's happening now. So Levy and Lewis may have thought they were very clever just buying the club, which they were quite open and honest about 20, 30 odd years ago when they bought it and they said, we are buying this club for investment purposes. Great, fantastic. But if it's all going one way and there's never been any give with them towards the football side. They never stretched themselves because that would mean taking a risk, and they were totally risk averse. So you get to a point, Poch took us to way further than I ever dreamed he would with these people in charge. And they still didn't back him when they had the chance, when they made 138 million net profit the year of Madrid in 2019. They still didn't look at that and think, Jesus Christ, football success and financial success correlates. They still didn't take that up. They still didn't move from their policy of profit before glory. And if they do crash, and listen, I was there in the second division, I'll be there next season. But if they do crash and the value of the club crashes catastrophically, then they bloody deserve it.
Look, we're going to quickly hear from Igor Tudor. Then we are going to discuss where we are ahead of Liverpool to come. And yeah, just with the amount of injuries we've got, what is the best case scenario? How Spurs are going to go to Liverpool and try and achieve something. But I think realistically, how we're all feeling, I think going to Liverpool and getting anything right now looks like a formidable task. Let's hear from Igor Tudor very quickly, who gave his thoughts on, quite frankly, where Spurs are at and the problems that are surrounding the club.
The bottle is always half empty or half full. So here there is nothing full. There is a lot of empty things. Some they cannot manage, for sure. Somewhere you arrive and you can help them. That can be the problem more than all these things about Tottenham club, magic on the club, like bad black magic and this, that other bullshit, This is how is it in this club. This happens all the time. We start to build something, then happens something, or red card, or last game, or 3-4 injury. This is very, very rare that happen in my career. I never see these situations.
We'll end the broadcast section there. Move on.
Thank you.
Move on to the embargo section.
What? You're done?
No,
not yet. What are you giving?
Move on to the embargo section.
You give publicity.
I don't know if anyone caught the end of that. So he was expected to be relieved there of the original press conference, and the embargo section was going to kick in. And
he thought it was all over.
He thought it was all over.
It is now.
He's had to talk more about us. Listen, thanks to the audience that are watching the show live, for those on the playback. If you can for us out there, guys, like, hype, subscribe to the show. It's been a really powerful show so far. I think, the three guys and the three gentlemen here have really, I think, given their views on how a lot of Spurs fans are feeling generally. Those that are match-going fans, those that watch the club all around the world. And that's what we always try and do. We want to try and bring a reflection of, how Spurs fans are feeling generally. I've always said, look, I never, ever want to speak for any Spurs fan. I always feel that we try and reflect a mood on here, how match-going fans feel and how general fans feel around the world. So if you can for us, like, hype, subscribe to the show. Please do the same for Johnny and subscribe to Football Inc. and, of course, the Five for himself and Lubo. And, of course, for Dave as well, the Irish Hotspur. We're going to try and put everybody in that collaboration link after the show. So for those watching it back, you should all be in there. And, of course, Johnny over at Insta at Talking Tottenham 1882. We've just heard there from animated Igor Tudor, who ahead of the Liverpool game, guys, we could be without up to 13 players. And he said there he can't quite believe what he is seeing. I mean, he's only been here 4 games and he's already realised what it is like working and coming into Tottenham. And Romero is actually yet to play a league game under Tudor, having only just returned from that 4-game suspension after being sent off against United. Now, the FA concussion protocol state that if a player is judged to be concussed, then they should begin a 6-stage return to play process, which starts with an initial 48-hour rest period with minimal physical and cognitive activities. So we're going to have to wait and see just how long Romero and Polina are going to be out for. But what it does do, it does stretch Tottenham's injury problems, availability of players. I believe now they've got only 13 available going into this game against Liverpool at the weekend. And Tudor, to some degree, he's come out fighting, as many would have picked up there. He doesn't like to act as a victim. He's slammed this suggestion of black magic around the club, Dave, to let you come in. But at the same time, I mean, this is such a tough job for anybody right now. And again, he was actually asked about his assistant, I think Ivan Juric, forgive me, who probably at this point will get off the platform at Heathrow eventually and probably have to turn back around and go back on a plane somewhere because, I mean, David, he'll probably feel rightly frustrated by the lack of options that he's got to work with. He's not even one of his main integral coaching staff members with him. But at the same time, Dave, he's on a high into nothing right now, Igor Tudor, given the noise around his future.
Yeah, look, I think it was certainly a rallying call, but, you know, is that what this team needs in the midst of a relegation battle right now when morale and confidence is on the floor? And it's all well and good him giving a rallying call, but is there anyone in the squad that's going to galvanize the squad and follow that call? I don't think so. You don't have that Kane, that Son figure around anymore. You've got players that look to get out of here at the earliest opportunity. And look, I'll be brutally honest. I think Tudor has been looking to get out of here since he sort of joined, to be brutally honest. After the Arsenal game, he called out the ambition within inside the club. After the Fulham game, he basically put the players on blast, which is usually a manager's last port of call, you know, to try and get a reaction, where he said they can't defend, can't attack, can't run. You know, some of the stuff he said today, some of the stuff he said after the Atletico game. And I think very quickly into the job, he said, you know, this is the biggest job I've ever had. And he's been at clubs with smaller resources and less talent, you know, which is absolutely huge concerning. So I think he's walked in, realised the mess that this is in. And I think even he believes he can't save us right now. And to be honest with you, the fact that he's not even trying anything different on the pitch, I think the guy's waiting to get the sack. I don't think he can believe he's still in this job. And to be brutally honest with you, you know, I think he's here. I think he's looked at the situation. And he wants to protect his CV to, you know, because he's known as this firefighter. He doesn't want to go down with Tottenham Hotspur. And if he doesn't think he can save us, I can guarantee you, off the back of today's press conference, if we get humiliated on the weekend, he will end up doing a Conte-style presser after the game to get him to make sure that they sack him. And look,
on that point, Dave, just to let you come back in there. I mean, because I'm in agreement with you. I don't think he actually wants to be here anymore. But at the same time, he's also not going to walk away from a paycheck, right? Because if he obviously resigns, he loses the opportunity to get his money. So the only way that guy is going to get any kind of a payoff is if he gets sacked. So
do managers even resign anymore? Is that a thing that's sort of been outdated? I never really hear a manager handing in their CV anymore. You know, it's usually they're put on gardening leave. It's part of the reason why Sean Dyche won't come to Tottenham. He's on gardening leave at Nottingham Forest. Why would he give up?
That's what's made it difficult. But I think also with Sean Dyche, you know, the concern is with Sean, obviously, he wants the job on a more of a long-term basis. But not only that, I mean, I've said this at the intro part of this, that I speak to a lot of people around football, and I think the biggest concern is they look at Tottenham's squad and, you know, bar Archie Gray, who is fighting, 100% fighting for the football club. And to be fair, he actually said on Archie that he's needed to change position every game he plays. Tudor, this is 4 games, 4 different positions. He's an amazing player. That means something is wrong. Beautiful guy, beautiful player. He has my big respect. But the thing is, Dave, outside of that, who is fighting for this team? And that's why I do wonder who wants to actually come into this mess and put their name next to Tottenham being relegated, which, let's be clear about it, Dave, as you know, every club wants Tottenham to be relegated. All the media outlets want Tottenham to be relegated. When I go and do something for, you know, any media outlet, they're relevant. They're reveling in this at the moment. They're reveling in the fact Tottenham could go down, Dave. Reveling in it.
I even think you could stretch that as far as PGMO well with a lot of their decisions on the pitch this year. I think they also want us to get relegated. But the reality is, what you're seeing right now is nobody wants to touch Tottenham. No one wants to put their name to the size of Tottenham Hotspur going down. We have never been relegated from the Premier League since its formation. You know, we're one of the only teams in the league that has never gone down. You know, no one wants to put their name to it because But at the end of the day, and a lot of the reason being is if you're Robbie Keane, you've built your career up out in Ferencváros and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, why are you going to come in and take this on a short-term basis?
No, you wouldn't. You'd be crazy. You'd be crazy. You'd be crazy.
Crazy. And even if you keep Tottenham up, you're not going to get the thanks or the reward from it and stuff like that. You're just going to be gone for Pochettino coming in. If you're Sean Dyche, you're not going to give up continuing to being paid by Nottingham Forest for a temporary contract at Tottenham and know that you're not going to be able to take this on. And Tottenham certainly ain't going to commit to a year or 2 year contract under any of these guys, even on a short-term basis, because they don't want to have to pay them gardening leave. On top of Pochettino coming back and stuff like this. The reality is, them committing themselves to Poch in the summer is sort of hindering our manager search right now in terms of bringing in the right guy to keep us up.
Just on that point, Johnny, come over to you. Like, I've discussed there about Tudor's animated press conference so far. He said you can cry or you can fight. You can be the victim or you can change something. This is the message I communicate to the players. And as we saw that clip, that kind of outline there about the fact that not to believe in this black magic voodoo curse over the football club. Who are you going to turn to, Johnny, after this? Because it sounds mad saying that. You want to sit here and be able to fully focus on who's in charge and the game at the weekend. But this at the moment, Liverpool feels like a distraction because it feels everybody in world football, every Spurs fan knows, Tudor looks done. So why is he taking this game? It's unbelievable.
Listen, I don't know what's going, but if anyone knows how to relieve a gypsy curse, or please get in contact with Ricky, who get in contact with the club. Look, we are a rotting carcass, and unfortunately, the vultures are circling, and they all want to come down, swoop down, and take a peck of us as we're lying there.
Gary Neville.
Fair game.
Gary Neville says it would be good for the Premier League if Spurs were relegated.
Honestly, that's what I'm saying. You know, yeah. You want to, put your foot on a wounded animal. That's what
he said that about United last year, did he?
No,
I don't believe.
No. They're all vultures. We are the easy prey, right? The press are just pecking at us, swooping down, taking a peck till there's nothing left. I'll tell you what. Last season, we used to say, "Oh, if only we had Mickey and Cuti Romero." Together, they are the two players that can really, they're world class. If only they stood together. How many times we put that picture up, yourselves, myself, we've looked at that picture. They are the cornerstone of this club and something to build on for the future. They've been anything but this season. They've let us down.
Let me ask you, John, on that point. Let me ask you, on Mickey and Romero, if Spurs get relegated 30, 40 years from now, will you associate Mickey and Romero being part of that wonderful night in Bilbao? Or just how much would relegation, do you think, tarnish both their respective legacies? Mickey played a massive part in the goal line clearance, of course, in Bilbao. Where are you on that?
Listen, Bilbao, right? We had one shot on goal. We had one, dubious shot on goal, and we had the lowest percentage of possession ever recorded in a final. He will be remembered. Yes, I've got that picture on my phone of that clearance. Yeah, fantastic clearance. But I'm sorry, it's about. Listen, I'll have the memory of that amazing run, and that beautiful finish. But your legacy will be you gave up the fight. You are part of the leadership group, and you've shown no leadership. You got yourself sent off. A most ridiculous, pathetic, sending off. You should have allowed him to score and then worried about coming back. And that challenge the other night, it looked like he wanted to get himself sent off. Yeah. It was pathetic. It was a wild challenge, lunging in challenge. It could have easily have ended up getting a red card and making it even worse. Things are so bad. I mean, Cuti Romero has been out for weeks and weeks. And what does he do? I mean, I wouldn't have put it past Cuti Romero and Paulinho to headbutt each other just so they don't have to face coming out to play football. We got 12 players. We got 12 players out on this pitch. Look, I don't think it matters, right? Do I think Tudor is the right manager for this club? No, I don't. Would I have picked him? No, I wouldn't have. But they did. because they're not football people. The board aren't football people, so they're not going to pick the right. They're not going to pick the right person. But I do
Who can save
think
us, Johnny? Who can save
no, I
us?
don't think. I don't think anyone can. I really
You think we
don't
can't?
think
You think we can't be saved?
I've never seen anything like it in all my years. 10 games where we conceded 2 goals or more. I don't, this has not happened overnight, Ricky. This started last year. We lost 22 games in the Premier League last season. 22. And it's just continued. We finished 17th. What has this board done to arrest 17th? The warning signs were there, right? Forewarned is forearmed, okay? You've had the warning. What are you going to do about it? We've had the statements. We're gonna do something. We had the excitement of winning in Bilbao, getting into the Champions League. We're going to sign the top players. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. What have we done? We've gone backwards. We are worse than we were before. And I do in some respects feel sorry for Tudor from the point of view, if he at least had his assistant coach, he might have half a chance. But at the moment, there's no one there. There's no one there. What are you going to do? You're going to bring in. Go on.
Maybe I'm speculating here, but even if there was the availability now, bringing Tudor's assistant in, I mean, he's going to be turned around the carousel when he gets off a Heathrow or Gatwick.
The players. He doesn't know the players, Ricky. They should have got Look. They screwed up, right? I would have given the job to Heitinger. That's me. I would have given it to him on a temporary basis. He's been there for 33 days. He's been there at Liverpool. If you speak to any of the Liverpool fans, who would tell you that Liverpool are not as good since he's left. And, he's definitely been a part of them. People will quote you the Ajax job. Heitinger was told by his agent, don't go to Ajax. Don't let your heart rule your mind. He didn't. He went there, paid the price, right? But Heitinger didn't even want to stay. Why didn't they consider him? Why in their football heads? They're not football people. They're bankers. They're investment people. They're property people. Why didn't they think in their heads, what would happen if Thomas Frank doesn't work out? Is this guy Heitinger going to be good enough to take over? Surely you would have thought that in your head, that this guy, it's happened with Brian Mason. We've had the assistant coach. He can't be worse than Stellini, and he certainly can't be worse than this guy. He definitely can't be. And, some of the decisions that we've seen, like I said before, without repeating myself, Pedro Porro playing at centre-back and poor old Archie Gray, who, I'll be honest with you, I think he's been the standout in the last few games.
Yeah, he's a fighter. He's fighting.
He's been the one. He's shown more heart and passion than the so-called leadership group of Vicario. Vicario spent more time shouting at Archie Gray when he's made more mistakes himself. Yeah, the leadership group has deserted the ship, and they have not done their job in any shape, way, or form. And I can't see. Look, I'm hoping for a miracle. I'm hoping for some miracle from somewhere. I think maybe naively, Lubo and I, when we went out to Madrid, we thought that maybe this could be the catalyst. Like something could happen on that day. We get a result, somebody get a win or a great draw, and that can be the catalyst to start the fight back. It's just not there.
Just to come in just quickly on 2 things. One thing Johnny was saying, he said the downfall started last year. No, it didn't. It started as soon as we sold Harry Kane. We lost the ability to win games. Then followed by selling Son. You've lost the 2 guys that have dragged you, or got you at least 80% of your points over the last how many years? You sell them and you replace them with championship fodder.
Your top goal scorers
are used to fighting down.
And Brendan as well. And just on top of that, Dave, Brendan as well. I mean, I know you're right. It goes back further than him. But if you sell your top goal scorer 3 seasons in a row, and look, I think many might have agreed with Brendan. Probably was the right to let him go, but to then not bring in a replacement, that January transfer window. We'll look back on that January transfer window. If we get relegated, that will be another catalyst to what Dave you say there, to what Johnny you say there as well. as one of the fundamental reasons why we were going to get relegated.
It's also, you look at who we replaced it with, players that are used to fighting or performing down in the bottom half of the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we replaced them with. And where are we now? Right exact down where we signed them from. And then,
Yep.
you know, you were asking, you know, I think, Johnny, you started off with the question about, you know, why is Tudor in charge for the Liverpool game? Look, being brutally honest, I don't like sitting here saying, you know, going into any game with a defeatist attitude. But the way this season has panned out, I'm just resigned to it. We haven't won up at Anfield in 15 years. Bringing in a manager and putting him in this predicament, going to Anfield with 12 fit senior players, is not going to get him off to any good start whatsoever, and probably end up humiliating him and killing him off before he's even started.
But Dave, I mean, are we just putting the? I want to bring Lubo in a second. Are we just putting the white flag up though by just not changing something? Because I just think as well, we're in need of points. We need points to get us out of this mess. And for those saying that we're not in the relegation zone, well, look, by the time we kick off, we might well be. We're bottom of the form table. We haven't won a game all year. We're nearly, well, we are. We're mid-March right now. We're mid-March. 2 wins in 20 in the Premier League. Was it 10 games, 9 games in a row in the Premier League that we've conceded 2 or more? Another 5 that we shipped during the week in Europe.
I'm definitely not waving the white flag, Ricky. I'm a fighter. You know, I would always keep looking to roll the dice, and I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
But looking at this situation, bringing in a manager, his first game, Anfield away, haven't won in 15 years, 12 fit senior players. Yeah. What can he really change heading into there and really putting Tottenham, you know, and getting the fans behind him and people's belief? I would actually use Tudor as a sacrificial lamb this weekend. As soon as the Liverpool game is out the way, P45, and bring in the next guy.
That's what sounds like.
Forest gives us 3 weeks. Forest gives us 3 weeks. You know, if he sacks of Forest, for example, right, then we've got literally 3 weeks to bring someone in and for them to work on that team. The problem is,
honest, John,
half of the team are going to be gone on international duty.
But on that point, just bringing Lubo coming there, I think it's unthinkable that he could be in charge for the Forest game, because you're looking now at games which are cup finals. I mean, that Forest game, Lubo, I think that is probably, I mean, I said the Palace game at home was our biggest game in however long. Well, the Forest game is probably even bigger in the event. And again, I'm the same as you guys. I don't want to be a pessimist, but I don't see us going to Anfield and getting anything. So the reality is we could end the weekend actually in the bottom 3 for the first time this season. And then you are thinking, how could Igor Tudor survive that? And then you are seriously panicking with our form, Lubo. Where are you on that for you in terms of what you would do now? I mean, can you understand why he's got the Liverpool game? Lubo.
Yes, I can. Well, I think they got the Liverpool game because they've not managed to get anybody else in place up to now. I think that's the only reason. I think the Forest game, when you look back at the end of the season and you see how many points we finished with and how many Forest finished with, you know, you can look back. If that goes badly, you may well be looking back at that game and saying that was the game. You know, if we'd have won that instead of lost it, that's a 6-point swing.
Yeah.
And that was the difference. My feeling is we'll lose to Liverpool. That'll be what? 6 league defeats on the spin, I think?
Seven.
Okay. Well,
we've had 6 is a record in our history of our football club. 7, unprecedented. 7 will be unprecedented.
When you look at teams, not every team, not every situation, but most teams that have these bad runs come out of them with a draw. You know, they stop the losses and they come away. They get a draw, and that's something to build on. And for me, the Forest game, people will say it's a must win. I think it's a must. It's a can't lose game, because I think if you've got
well, we have to win.
We have to win that. We have to win that Forest game.
What I'm saying, Dave. What I'm saying is that if you look at it, if you look at the fixtures after that, then for me, I would write off probably Villa and Chelsea.
Yeah.
But if they can stop the rot with Forest and go into the Sunderland game with a much bigger squad with Kudus, Udogie and Bergvall back as well, you'll have from the players missing this week, you'll have Romero, Paulinho, Van der Ven, Gallagher, Basuma, plus those 3 coming back. You'll have 8 players for Sunderland, hopefully, you know, subject to injuries, obviously. Yeah. You'll have 8 players that you haven't got for this week's match. So you look at it, I mean, top four, forget. I think Bentancur's due back, that's right, beginning of May. But all the others, hopefully, will be back. And you've got Kudus, Davis, Bergvall, Doggy. So you got four there. You got the plus you've got the players that are missing this week. So
Plina Romero, Basuma. Yeah,
that'll be 9 players. 9 players. So you'll then have 21 fit first team players aside from the goalkeepers. So for me, if it's going to happen, if we're going to
not getting 21 back, we're not going to have 20. We're not going to have 21 back by the time we get back from mid season.
Why not? Why not?
Because it just won't. Because you actually believe what they told us. James, they told us Dejan Kulusevski was going to be back soon.
Yeah,
I take their return dates with a pinch of salt. Right now, we've probably got vets. We probably got vets doing the medical, so rather than top medical people. Honestly, it's laughable. I mean, Lucas Bergvall, that's gone on for much longer. It was 6 weeks. It's going to end up being longer than 6 weeks that he's been out. I don't think. Well, all I'm saying, Lubo, is I don't think we can take
what they're saying for Clyde in terms of the injuries.
Okay, if you've got Johnny, if you got 6 back instead of 9, so you got 6 out of the 9. You got the 5 that are missing: Basuma, Gallagher, Romero, Palhinha, Van der Ven. You got 5 plus plus one of those. You got 6 back. You got 18. You've got options then on the bench. And going into the last few games, you're not going to kill the players because you've only got 12 or 13 fit players there that have got to play week after week. So I'm trying to take some positives. I'm trying to look on the bright side and trying to look for pluses. Otherwise, might as well just say, "Oh, forget it."
Listen.
You know what I mean? It's
You're right. Yeah,
but you're right. But
how are we going to get out of this? You've got to look at it and think to yourself, right? We're in major shit here. How are we going to get out?
Just a quick one. Do we all actually think we're going to still? I feel like some of you guys are resigned. Lubo, you resign. Do you think we're still going to get out of this, Lubo? Do you think we're going to get out of this?
I've always
heart of hearts. Put your hand in your heart. You think we'll still get out of this?
I think if we can get a result against Forest and stay injury free over the international break, then I think we can dig ourselves out. Because do you know what? Forest aren't that great. West Ham have had a good run, but that has been off the back of a lot of Somerville's goals and assists. He's now out for 4 weeks. That's going to hit them big time. So for me, looking at it,
West Ham's form is good because West Ham are not even in the bottom. Well, we've got a Premier League form table of the last 10 games, and West Ham are above the teams in 15th for their form. That's how good West Ham have been.
Yes, but Somerville's had a lot to do with that, and he's now missing for the next month.
Yeah.
So,
4 of which 3 weeks is an international break.
Okay.
Right.
He'll miss 2 games.
Yeah, he'll miss 2 games.
And West Ham have got City at home, Villa away.
Yeah.
The other thing to bear in mind, guys, with the greatest respect, I love Lubo's optimism, and I share some of it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going to any of the games. Yeah. But I would say to you that a player like Kudus, who's been out for months on end, cannot suddenly come back into the game and start playing 90 minutes, right? They'd be lucky to play 20 minutes, 30 minutes here and there. They have to be eased back into the game. So whilst we welcome back any player that can offer 20 or 30 minutes, I'm not sure how much of a saviour these players can be until, mid-April, which takes us into the last few games. But look, he's never over until it's over. And, we got a terrible record at Wolves. We haven't got a good record at Villa away recently.
Well, I mean, you look at our games, Johnny, can you come in there? If you look at the respective games of last season, the only team we won out of the remaining games, when you look at last season, was this Everton on the final day. We lost all the other ones. Yeah,
so, I mean, when I look at that, I just think to myself, let's be real. Apparently, though, last season, we focused on the
Europa League.
League. This time we have to focus on survival.
Yeah,
I don't know. Look, football's a funny game. Just when you think it's all over, like West Ham fans, the difference is, and I'll go back to it again, West Ham's owners, They
Active
did
in
something
January.
about it.
They
Just
acted in
when
January.
all hope was lost,
Yeah.
they went into the market. They bought Tati. They bought players, and
Yeah.
those players have had an effect on the team.
Yeah,
They've
but
helped
also-
them.
But Johnny,
And also-
West Ham are a football club. We're not a football club.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
know, but
difference.
what I'm saying is they helped. They helped. The
Sure.
owners realised the severity of the situation, and
Yeah.
they went out and did something about it. What did we get? We got a pressing midfielder, and we got rid of the guy who scored the most goals last season. We didn't replace Son. We didn't replace Johnson, and we get this story when the transfer window closed from Johan Lang, Mr. Magnolia, that basically
we didn't want to panic.
Yeah, so what you've done, you have thrown the dice and you have gambled our entire future on a hunch, on a gamble. It's not your club to gamble on. You've bet the whole house on red. And by the looks of it, it's coming up black.
I'd also throw into the equation, you got to take in the World Cup at the end of the season. Does anyone really believe that these players are going to put their body on the line for Tottenham Hotspur over the World Cup, where we are right now? I don't. I think some of them will start preserving their bodies towards the end of the campaign, to be brutally honest with you.
Especially Romero.
If I go with your theory, Dave, the conspiracy is they've been resting their whole body for the year.
Look, I just think they really needed to do it. They had an easy run of games, I think, under Frank. I think that's where we really need to pick up the points. Then we had the Fulham and the Palace game. I think we really need to pick up points there. And I just worry, come the end of the campaign, do these players maybe have one on the World Cup? Because let's be brutally honest, if we go down, the club ain't going to carry down their wages. A lot of them even at 50% reduction. And a lot of them, like Romero, he'll move on to a big club. Van de Ven will move on to a big club and stuff like that. They're already taking it in turns getting sent off. Injured players are never back when they're supposed to be. They're always months after. How much commitment is there really within the squad to really keep us up? I don't want to sit here and be negative. Like, yeah, of course, I want to believe. But that's all I have left. I can't actually sit here and say we're going to stay up off any stat that's out there. That's telling me we are. We're winless in 2026. We've got the worst form in the Premier League. We're in worse form than Wolves. Wolves, Burnley, and West Ham are showing more fight than what we are currently right now. There's not one stat that suggests we are going to stay up the way we are.
You're right.
No, Dave, can I just come back to you on the first point you made? If you're Argentina's manager and you're looking at Romero's form and you're looking at Lisandro Martinez at United, who are you going to play?
Martinez, Romero. He's definitely
Martinez is giving
Romero out when he's injured, for God's sake. He's definitely going to the World Cup.
No, I'm just saying when you're picking your team for the first game, you've had scouts following Martinez and Romero. Just say they're fighting for one spot. One player is playing well in a team, showing 100% resolve, 100% commitment and effort, and the other one isn't. Who are you going to play?
Guarantee he plays Romero. Romero's a better defender at the end of the day. And, for Argentina, he's never let them down. He'll play. He's not picking them based on his form at Tottenham. He's going to pick them on based on, the camp that they're bringing to the World Cup and what he does for Argentina. And, he'll play.
They told him he's going to be captain, Lubo. They've told him when Messi retires, Cuti Romero will be captain.
Amazing.
Guys, I'm going to steer us to close with Liverpool at the weekend. And I'm going to ask you finally if he's sacked on Monday. It's crazy, isn't it? You're having this conversation. You got someone. So you got someone in charge at the moment that, if everybody knows he's going to be going, but yet he's taking this game. Which, to be fair to him, how much he cares about it, I don't know. But Liverpool, like I say, in terms of coming up for the weekend, they've got a couple of injury issues themselves. Chiesa missed out midweek, but he's expected to make a full recovery. They have got Isak, Endo, Leone, Bradley, all sideline, while Jeremy Frimpong, Gakpo, and Andy Robertson are pushing to start. Obviously, our last one at Anfield came all those years ago, actually, under Harry Redknapp, who, again, we've made that point, has made it very, very clear. His last interview, which was on, where are we now? It was Friday morning when I was talking to him before Cheltenham was kicking off again for the day. And he said, they know where they are if they want to call me, and I will take over. Redknapp has made that public, but again, from what I've suggested on the show and letting you guys know, I don't think I'm breaching any confidence here. I don't think Tottenham want to go near Harry. And I think it'll be interesting to see how they do deal with the next 24, 48 hours. If you guys had a hunch, where do you think they would go now? Lubo, we'll start with you. Where would they go, in your opinion, now, with the limited options they've got?
They'll probably end up with Ryan Mason personally, if they're not going to go for Redknapp, I think I would probably bring Hoddle and Sherwood and Defoe together. I'd bring the three of them back in and see what you can do. That's what I would do. This lot haven't got a clue. I shudder to think what will happen, who they'll bring in if Tudor goes, when Tudor goes. But
you know that sinking feeling, which will be horrible. And I don't want to be negative to close a show like this, but the fact maybe waking up Monday morning, you actually then see us in the bottom three. That's going to be like a real damning indictment or realization for some that out there didn't think how bad things are, that we are in the mire, and then you're looking and thinking, who is going to save us? Johnny, your gut feeling, mate. What if you were them? I bet you're glad you're not them. Who would you be turning to now at this time? Do you turn
I think
to Harry?
it's got to be a collab. It's got to be a collab. You know, whether you put Jermaine on cones, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Look, Jermaine still hasn't finished his badges.
No.
But he can help out. He was with the under 18s, you know, plying his trade. I would go for the whole group. But listen, the one thing is,
John, who is the whole group in your opinion? When you say the whole group,
well,
who is
listen,
the whole group
there
to you?
can be
Who is the whole
no,
group?
there can be no egos, and I think if you bring Ryan Mason, I don't think Tim Sherwood's ego will allow him to take orders from Ryan Mason. So, you know, I think there would have to be a group who would all be singing from the same hymn sheet, who give a shit about the club. And I would basically, Glenn's been out for a long time out of football. And Glenn, bless him, he loves to go on TNT Sports and slag us off and say the club's not doing this and the players aren't doing that. Come on, Glenn, get your shorts back on, mate. You've done all the talking on the TV.
Is he your man? Is he your man, Johnny? Is he your man, Johnny? Glenn, you'd like to see Glenn come back?
He would be my man with Ryan Mason and a Defoe or someone like that. Yeah, he would be. I think that's the only way. Look, former England manager. He's been out a long time. He talks the game. Ryan Mason has been in the game more recently. Jermaine Defoe has got the passion for the club and the passion for football still. And I think the combination maybe of those three can lift us. Look, let's be honest. Liverpool's a dead weight. We've won one of the last 31 games there at that stadium. I think it was 2011. I think it was
2011, 15
Yeah, it's lost 2-0. And listen, it's the most goals of any Premier League game. It's the most goals that have ever been scored. I think it's 209. And of those, Liverpool has scored 127 goals against us in the Premier League, the most in any game. So I fear that tomorrow is going to, on Sunday.
Don't bring a day early, for God's sake. At least let me have Saturday off.
I just fear it could be a day to hide behind the sofa. I really do. And let's be honest, the injuries and what happened. You know, if the two guys hadn't clashed heads accidentally on purpose and were out, right, and Basuma's out, you know, too much balloon inhaling, whatever he's been up to. The thing is, we got 12 players. I would like to see, as I don't expect anything other than a loss, I'd like to see a player like Callum Oluwesi played in that game, right? Because I'll tell you what, at least he would fight. And he would take the opportunity. He's the captain. He's the captain of the under 21s. I'd give him a chance. What does it matter? This joker is gone. This joker's gone, right? Okay. I just need to see something. Who knows that one of these players that's been sat on the bench, one of these kids, doesn't offer some more heart or some more passion.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the point you're making there, Johnny. I always say kids are fearless. You know, they don't really fear or worry about. Look at Rooney back in the day of Everton when he came on and scored against Arsenal. Yeah. Ray says here, "Hey Ricky, great show. Here's a left field one for you. If Tudor flukes win at Anfield, do you keep him?" I mean,
Listen, it ain't happening.
Yeah,
there
I
ain't going to
can't
be
see
no
ways.
fluke, guys.
Yeah.
There's going to be no fluke.
Yeah.
Look, you know, I've been to more games than I care to remember at Anfield and seen us lose everything from 7-0 to what was the score we went last time, Lubo? Was it 5-1
5-1 or something?
5-1.
5-1.
We lost 5-1 and 4-0 in the League Cup.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, like, listen, I've been to the mall, been humiliated at the mall, and we had a team out.
Dave closes, possibly permanently, depending on how Sunday goes.
Oh, by the way, I'm going six. Well, Lubo,
I was
Lubo and I
I
were
was
doing
gonna
the
do
thing.
prediction.
We're going to go. I was going to go 6-2, but I'm going to go 6-1 this time.
I'll tell you what, I am terrified it could be a cricket score. You know that.
And I've gone 6-2, Ricky.
Have you?
Yeah, I had to go.
You got
I was going to go 6-2, but Lubo nicked it. So
you know what? No Romero, no Van der Ven. So you've got Dragoshin and Danso as probably the centre back pairing, haven't you, for this one?
I mean, that's nightmare for Saturday night. Nightmare on Saturday night. Just to Johnny's point about giving some of the youngsters the opportunity, I do agree with him. I think, you know, at some point you've got to turn to your academy.
I mentioned only one.
But like, you know, if some of these other players don't want to pull their weight, then why do you keep putting them out there? Turn around to the academy. But realistically, if they couldn't get the players in January, why didn't they turn to some of that loan army that has actually got first team experience? I'm not saying they would have been good enough to keep us up, but, you know, Ovaskovic and Mikey Moore, Jamie Donnelly, Will Lancashire, you know, players like that, Tyrese Hall, you know, I'm a big fan of, you know, players like that. You could use them now with some of the injury crisis that we've got.
100%.
You know, at least if we put some of them out there, the fans would be behind it every week, rooting these youngsters on. But what fans won't tolerate is overpaid babies that are refusing to run. And that's where the frustration is coming in. And just to answer the Mandra question quickly, I think Spurs have no option but to left to turn to someone that has an affiliation with the club. There's no one outside of this football club that doesn't have an affiliation that's going to want to attach their name to this. You look
Not to 9 games remaining, are they? Who's going to want to attach it to this?
You look at all the pundits out there now, all people that are used to being in the game and stuff like that. They're all saying that Tottenham are going to go down, that there's no fight in this dressing room, the problems with the club and stuff like that. There's nothing that, you know, you'd want to be absolutely deluded to think you could come in and turn this around right now with what's going on at this football club. So I think you have no option but to turn to, you know, a club of players, of people that have connection with Tottenham Hotspur. But part of me, and the cynical part of me, thinks they'll only do that so that they can try and fill that stadium for the rest of their home games this season, because they know one thing Spurs fans will do, because even if they have no belief in the board or the team, they will turn up to support their own at the end of the day. So if they bring them in and put them in the dugout, you know, you will fill out that stadium again. But look, Liverpool, I'm not going to sit here and look for any optimism. I think 15 years since we won up there in the Premier League, you know, we've got routings up there the last couple of seasons. We're down to 12 players. You know, some of the players we're putting out there, I don't even trust to put in a performance, to be brutally honest with you. So I'm fearing an absolute cricket score. However, there is one thing that's telling me it is almost Spursy to have everything against you and turn up and shock everyone at Anfield at the weekend. And that's what I'm going to cling on to. And I hope that happens, because as much as I'm trying to be realistic, I don't want Tottenham to go down. You know, this is a club that I've poured 34 years of my bloody life into.
Mate, 100%.
Blood, sweat and tears. You know, I've given up events to watch Tottenham Hotspur. I've given up birthdays, weddings, everything else just to sit down and watch this football club. I've spent so much money to support this football club. I don't want it to go down. And I really do hope that there is someone with inside this bloody club that has any ounce of love for it, that wants to steer this in the right direction and keep us up in the Premier League. Because I don't think they realise yet. But if we get relegated, the amount of detriment it's going to have on Spurs fans, you know, in terms of anger, mental health and all that stuff, they really don't understand that. And I hope that they really listen to this, take that on board, pull their asses together, pull their weight and keep us bloody up.
Dave, lovely words there.
Who'd you give the armband to Sunday? Archie Gray?
Okay, wait, the way Dave
not showing anything at the minute.
The way Archie's playing.
Listen, don't be surprised, Rick, if you see Kinski playing in the midfield. The way this guy manages, honestly, anything's bloody possible. Anything is possible.
Kinski in the 10 and Xavi on the bench. Honestly,
Xavi on the bench. He doesn't like Xavi, and Xavi He's walking. Listen, all
He's
I
walking
know
to
is
avoid,
when he
walking to
walk-
avoid him, walking to avoid him
Listen.
off the pitch.
all I know is when he walked past us at Fulham and refused to even acknowledge the fans or look at the fans, I knew he's done. He's done. He's probably berating his agent for sending him to Spurs right now. I'll tell you that much. But hey, I only want fighters. So if Xavi's not up for the fight and all the other crybabies that are in that team bitching and moaning, don't bother turning up. I would rather see, and I'll say it again, I'd rather see the Kalmulueses or the other Cubs who have come through our academy who will be proud to put on that shirt and give their all. They might not be as good as those players, but they will give their all. And that's all we're asking for. And Dave's right. The fans will get behind those kids. They ain't going to get behind these crybabies who are whinging and want to fight them afterwards after a game after they put up a crap performance. Man up.
Yeah. I think it's a rallying cry, isn't it? I think, you know what, we've said a lot about the frustration around the ball and the players, the ownership, everything that we're feeling around Tudor as well. You know, I think it's important to close the message that we would like to see a unified Tottenham go there and give us something. And I think the thing is, you know, if we did see a degree of fire outside Archie Gray, I know Lubo again has got a lot of love for Archie. And I think we all got a lot of love for Archie, the way he's performing. The reality, if we can just see a bit of fight from the team that they are still in this, you know, I think our feelings as fans would change, but they've got to show us something. I keep saying, you know, we can sit here every week and we can keep sitting here looking at the table, looking at the other managers, looking at where we are and coming to our own conclusions. But really, the only people, like you guys have said consistently throughout the show, the only people that are going to get us out of this really is the players. They're the only people that can get us out of it is the players. I want to say a massive thank you. Johnny, thank you, mate. What a
thank you for having me.
Passionate speaker from Johnny doing the show. Lubo, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Try a Saturday off.
Yeah, we've got a Saturday off.
Tell you what, I hope they aren't permanently. I got to tell you. Or we might be Saturdays full time next season. Let's hope we aren't. Dave, thank you so much. You've been a diamond. Listen, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody out there that listens and watches Last Word on Spurs. And it's a really, really tough time right now. And I echo what Dave says. I know a lot of people out there for their mental health that have only got Tottenham in their life, and outside of Tottenham, it's a difficult time for them out there. We fully appreciate and understand that for them, the escapism is Spurs. And I say this as well. I don't see any understanding or any real coherent reason why it would be beneficial for Tottenham to be in the Championship. So we need to try and get behind the team, get behind the players for the remaining 9 Premier League games and the 1 in the Champions League, and let's see where it takes us. But from Johnny, from Lubo, from Dave, from me, we've been the Last Word on Spurs. Let's see what Sunday offers from us all. Keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.